Arizona is limiting new construction around Phoenix as the state's water supply continues to dwindle.
State officials say there isn't enough groundwater for housing construction that has already been approved. This comes after a new report showed water levels wouldn't likely meet growing demand over the next century. The governor says the state is not immediately running dry, but new developers would have to show they can provide water from an alternate source to get permits. Senior national and environmental correspondent Ben Tracy is with us now from Los Angeles for more on this situation. And Ben, Phoenix is one of the fastest growing metro areas in the country. So how has that helped to create this water shortage, and what exactly do these new rules mean?
Yeah, the growth in Phoenix has just been exponential. This has been one of the fastest growing cities in the United States for 5 years running. It's now the 5th largest city overall in the U.S. And basically that growth has been part of a policy of kind of growth at all costs. This is now a reality check. This is people in Arizona finally saying, you know what, you can't live without water, and we're running out of our water. So that growth has depleted a lot of the groundwater around Phoenix. When you go to Phoenix these days, you notice this just driving down the freeway. You can just see this urban sprawl that goes on for miles and miles as far as the eye can see. And basically what the state is now saying is that if you want to build one of these big housing developments on the outskirts of Phoenix that relies on groundwater, you're not going to be able to do it unless you can prove that you can get water from somewhere else, because they are basically concerned that the amount of housing they currently have, there's not enough water to support that for the next 100 years. So if you keep building more, you're going to run out of water even sooner.
It's pretty extraordinary to think about this, Ben. I wonder, for people who live in the Phoenix area, how might these new development limitations affect them?
Well, if you're an existing homeowner in Phoenix, you're probably not going to notice anything right away. This is probably a bigger issue for people who may want to move to Phoenix. Part of the reason they've seen so much growth is because the houses there are relatively affordable, and it's a relatively nice place to live in terms of the weather, except in the summer it gets a little hot. So, you know, if you have less supply of housing there and you still have all this demand for people who want to live there, that is expected to raise housing costs in the Phoenix area. So that long term could affect people who are living there. In the short term, it's more about the people who might want to move there and buy a home.
So, Ben, can Arizona just get water from somewhere else?
They'd love to. I mean, they're already doing that in some fashion. 36% of the water in Arizona comes from the Colorado River. So they're really being squeezed from two sides here. Their groundwater is being depleted rapidly, and also the water they get from the Colorado River, their other lifeline, they're seeing cuts to that supply as well, because there's been a 23-year-long drought in the West as it gets hotter and drier due to climate change. So all the states in the West are having to take cuts from their Colorado River supply. So Arizona is really running out of options, and this is what they're looking at, you know, these numbers, and saying we can't just make water, and no other state's going to give them water, because everyone's in a similar situation where water has become this extraordinarily precious commodity here in the West.
So, Ben, you mentioned the Colorado River. Last week, California, Arizona, and Nevada agreed to a Biden administration deal to reduce Colorado River water usage. Will that be enough to solve the issue, or is that basically just a temporary fix?
It's a Band-Aid. It's a temporary fix. It's really only designed to last until 2026, when all the states have to come back to the table and agree on what they're realistically going to take from the Colorado River. You know, we had a very wet winter out here in the West, and that took a little bit of the pressure off, but that's 1 year. We would need many, many years of extraordinarily wet winters to replenish that Colorado River system. And we should also mention, this isn't just about drought. This is about overuse. These cities out here in the West, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and the amount of agriculture we have in the West has really depleted these water resources, and now that is coming home to roost.
All right, Ben Tracy. Ben, thank you.
Thanks.